Welcome to Classical Mechanics and Relativity. In this video, we will talk about Michelson-Morley experiment. In the last video, I was discussing about frames of reference and I have told you inertial frame and non-inertial frame. So the inertial frame means that a frame in which Newton's first law of motion is obeyed, or we can say it is an unaccelerated frame. Also, I stated that a frame which is moving at a constant velocity with respect to inertial frame is also an inertial frame. In 19th century, people thought that there is an absolute frame of reference exists in the world. In this frame, light moves in every direction with a constant velocity. That the absolute frame of reference does not move, and in that frame, light moves in all directions in constant velocity. Light is a wave. A wave is a disturbance which propagates from one place to another. Light is a wave, sound is a wave, and you have heard about many types of waves. In 19th century, people thought that every wave needs some medium to propagate through. Sound propagates through elastic medium, and as the stiffness of the medium increases, the velocity of sound increases. The velocity of sound is slow in air compared to the velocity of sound in steel, because steel is more stiffer. Similarly, people thought that light also need a medium to propagate through, and that medium they call as ether. It's a hypothetical medium, no one has seen it and no one knows about it. It's a hypothetical medium, and people named it as ether. So the ether spans the entire nothingness of the universe. Not only they hypothesized the ether, but ether has some physical property. One of the physical property is that it allows light to pass through. It's an invisible medium which allows light to pass through. Second thing is that the velocity of light is very high, so ether has to be very stiff. You know that as the stiffness increases, the velocity of a wave increases. The velocity of light is very high, hence ether has to be very stiff. Ether is so stiff that people thought that it is incompressible, that you cannot compress it anymore, because if you compress it, then velocity of light has to increase, but the velocity of light will not increase. If that is true, then Earth and all the other planets are moving in ether around Sun. So the ether is very stiff, so it should apply some dragging force on Earth. So eventually Earth should lose some energy and it should sweep out a spiral path, and at the end it should go to Sun. But this does not happen. So then again scientists rephrase the property of ether, that ether is an invisible, non-viscous and incompressible fluid through which light passes through. So Michelson want to find out the absolute frame of reference and the motion of Earth relative to that. Michelson also believed that ether exists, that an absolute frame of reference exists, and light need ether to pass through, and Earth and all other planets, all other bodies move with respect to ether. So Michelson made an experimental setup which is known as Michelson's interferometer, and with that he want to measure the relative motion of Earth with respect to ether, and this experiment is known as Michelson-Morley experiment. Michelson is an expert in optics experiment, and in fact before this experiment he has measured the velocity of light with the highest accuracy at that time. In 1880 he used an interferometer to do this experiment, but that interferometer is so sensitive to everything happening outside the lab. Even a person walks, the interferometer will get disturbed. So later in 1887 he made another interferometer himself. With that he and his colleague Morley conducted his famous experiment. The basic idea of Michelson-Morley experiment is that ether is stationary and light moves in all direction with the same velocity. Earth and all other object moves with respect to ether. Earth revolves around Sun at a speed of 3 into 10 to the power 4 meter per second. So if the ether is stationary and if Earth is moving around Sun, at some point the relative velocity of Earth and ether will be 3 into 10 to the power 4 meter per second. On this assumption, Michelson and Morley devised their experimental setup. Their experimental setup consists of an interferometer, which is known as Michelson interferometer. So the interferometer has a source of light and a beam splitter and two mirrors to reflect the light and one telescope to see the reflected light. This is roughly the construction of Michelson's interferometer. It has a source of monochromatic light which emit a monochromatic light. This monochromatic light gets reflected from a half silvered mirror and travels in two mutually perpendicular directions. The monochromatic light travels from the source and hit the beam splitter, and then it splits into two parts. One part will be the reflected one, which travels in the upward direction, and the other part is a transmitted light which travels in this direction. So the reflected light get again reflects from a mirror M1 and travels in the downward direction. I mark that light as 1, and the transmitted light bounces back from a mirror M2 and travels back and again get reflected from the half silvered mirror and goes to the detector. So this is the roughly the construction of a Michelson interferometer. The optical length between the beam splitter and the mirror M2 is exactly equal to the optical length between the beam splitter and mirror M1, and the entire setup is kept on the surface of Earth. Remember, Earth is moving with respect to the ether with a constant velocity v is equal to 3 into the power 4 meter per second. So the entire system, entire interferometer also will be moving at a speed of 3 into 10 power 4 meter per second with respect to ether. But in ether, the speed of light is constant. So the entire system is moving in this direction at a speed of 3 into 10 power 4 meter per second. So the light travels from the beam splitter towards M2. We'll see that the entire system is moving with a velocity v in this direction. The light is also moving in this direction with a velocity c, and the entire system is also moving in this direction with a velocity v. So when the light travels in this direction, it sees that the frame moving in that direction. So both are moving in same direction. So the relative velocity will be v c minus v. But when the light gets reflected back and moves in this direction, the velocity of light is in this direction and the velocity of motion of frame is in this direction. So that light will travel relatively at a velocity c plus v. So the reflected light comes to this beam splitter and travels in this direction. So I have redrawn the figure here. So now let's calculate the time taken by the light to travel from the beam splitter towards the mirror M1 and then back to the detector. By the time the light reaches to M1, the mirror gets some displacement because the entire system is moving, and it reaches to a position I call it as M1 prime. Then from there light gets reflected and travels back, and by the time it reaches the beam splitter has traveled some distance. Okay, so the final position of the beam splitter will be somewhere here. So final position of beam splitter will be here. I call it as P prime. P is the position of beam splitter,
This I call as P prime. Now I have to write down the triangle here. Now the distance through which the beam splitter is travelled will be equal to the velocity at which the beam splitter is moved, which is equal to velocity of earth, times the time taken to travel from here to here. So I am calling that time as T1. So T1, Vt1 is the distance between P prime, where V is the velocity of earth with respect to ether, and T1 is the time taken for the light to travel from here to the M1 and back to the detector. In that time the beam splitter moves a distance, so that distance is equal to Vt prime. But in the frame of reference of ether, or the absolute frame of reference, the light travels in this direction with a velocity c, and light travel in this direction also with a velocity c. So now we can use Pythagoras theorem to do some of the mathematics. This length is L, that is the length L. Now we can do P m1 prime is equal to L square plus V T1 by 2. The by 2 comes because the distance from here to here will be Vt1 by 2 whole square. Similarly, the distance from here to here will be, at least this distance, Vt by 2 is this one whole square. The total distance light travelled is equal to P m1 prime P prime, that is the distance travelled by the light, is equal to this plus this. So you can just multiply by 2 in the square root of L square plus Vt, sorry, let's say T1, Vt1 divided by 2 whole square. Now you know the velocity of light is c in ether, so light travels in a velocity equal to c in this direction. So that means the velocity of light is c, and the time taken by light to travel from here to here and here to here is t1. So the distance will be c times t1, so that you can write as 2 into square root of L square plus Vt1 by 2 whole square. So you can square it and solve it for t1. So you will get c square t1 square is equal to, for L square I am taking inside, plus V t1 or V square t1 square, Vt1 whole square. Now you take all the t1 one side, so I take it like t1 square on one side will be equal to 4 L square divided by c square minus V square, or you can take a square root. So t1 is equal to, I take a square root, so this will be 2 L, and underneath the square root will be there, so it will be 2L divided by total square root underneath. Okay, so this you can use binomial expansion to deal with. So the t1 you can write is equal to 2L divided by, if I take c square outside, it will be c, and then there will be like 1 minus V square by c square. So it's divided by 1 minus V square by c square under square root, so when it goes up it will be half, minus half. So now you can use a binomial expansion and to simplify it further. So this will be t1 is equal to 2L by c into, like 1 will be still there, plus this 1 by 2 comes here, so minus 1 by 2 minus is plus V square by 2 c square. So now you got what is t. So you got here the time taken for the light to travel from the beam splitter to the mirror in the upward direction and come back to the beam splitter is t1. So you got that time here. Now let's calculate the time taken by the light to travel from the beam splitter in the direction of motion of Earth and towards M2 and back to the beam splitter again. So the light travels from here to here with a velocity c minus v, because both are traveling in same direction. It travels in with a velocity c minus v in that direction. It travels back with a velocity c plus v in this direction. So in both places it travels a distance L. Okay, so we can easily find out the time, the total time, the time taken to travel for the light from here to here and back to here will be T2 will be L divided by C minus V plus L divided by C plus V, where L divided by C minus V is the time taken for the light to travel a distance L with a velocity C minus V, and L divided by C plus V is the time taken by the light to travel distance L with a velocity C plus V. You can do just simple math, and T2 will be, you will get as, you take a common denominator which will be equal to C square minus V square. So here you will get L into C plus L into V, plus here you will get L C minus LV. So this LV plus LV and plus will get cancelled. So it will be 2LC divided by C square minus V square. C here. So I will take out C square, then it will be 1 minus V square by C square. So this and this will get cancelled. You will get 2L divided by C into 1 minus V square by C square. Now again we can use binomial expansion, so you will get 2L by C. It goes to up, so it will be 1 plus V square minus C square. Okay, so you got T1 as this, and so T2 as, T2 is equal to 2L by C into 1 plus V square by C square. So definitely there is a difference, they are not same. Now let us calculate the difference, delta T. So delta T is equal to T2 minus T1, 2L V square by C cube minus V square by C cube. So you will get at the end your L V square by C cube as delta T. So this is the time difference between these two light. So this time difference gives path difference. So the path difference is equal to the velocity times time difference, C times the delta T. So which will turn out L V square by C square. So this is the path difference between two light. This is what Michelson arrived in this equation. Then Michelson did some calculation. So here he used 11 meter as L, and V square, the value of V square is the value is V square, V is 3 into 10 to the power 4 whole square divided by C is again 3 into 10 power 8 whole square. So this 3 and 3 cancel for the, so it will be so Michelson would get a path difference between this light and this light as 110 nanometer. Now if Michelson rotate the entire thing by 90 degree, then in that configuration he will get again a path difference, one more 110. So the total path difference between in this configuration and in this configuration, the total path difference will be equal to 2 times this 110 into 10 power minus 9. So it is equal to 220 into 10 power minus 9 meter. So that will be the total path difference. When Michelson used a light with a wavelength of 580 nanometer, which is equal to 5
80 into 10 power minus 9 meter, he should get a fringe shift which is equal to 220 into 10 power minus 9 divided by 580 into 10 power minus 9. It's very close to 0.4. So Michelson should get a fringe shift of 0.4. So this is what Michelson expecting if his entire experiment is set up like this, and then if you rotate the entire experiment to 90 degree, he should get a 0.4 fringe shift. We can roughly take it as 0.5. That means in this configuration, if we get a center maxima, then by rotating 90 degree, he should get roughly a center minima, a center dark. But Michelson did not see that, did not observe any shift in fringe. So he thought that he is doing something wrong with the experiment, and in throughout his life, he tried to improve his experiment to see the absolute reference of frame or to see the ether. But the fact that even though you can call it as a negative result, but in fact it is a positive result. So later Lorentz gave an explanation, and we will study it as Lorentz transformation in the next class. And Einstein, from a different perspective, from electromagnetic theory, he derived same equation what Lorentz has derived, and which leads to a special theory of relativity. So in physics, it's always happened. Even you might try to prove something, but sometimes it disproves that. So this kind of thing happened always in physics. Michelson and his colleagues thought that there is something wrong with Michelson's experiment and ether exists, but later Lorentz and mainly Einstein proved that ether does not exist, and the velocity of light is constant everywhere in every frame of reference. Okay, so that we will explain in a special theory of relativity. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any question, and if I make any mistake in the calculations, or if something is not clear to you, please ask me or please write us a comment. Thanks a lot for watching, and please watch next video. This is Dr. Pradeep, your physics teacher.